We are in the middle of page Samach. The line starts with the word venimshach. Al dezeh bechinas atmos ein sof. As a result of the avodah of the nefesh habamis, the nefesh habamis is mizbatel, and it turns to a lukus. As we said, that this is beyond its experience type of desire. It is turned to lukus because of its fundamental truth, and it rejects everything else. Actually, as we said, it is due to its exposure to the nefesh elikis, and it's willing to forgo its own experience, if only to relate to the real truth. That elicits a response from the real truth. Therefore it becomes, he has a place in the world. Adira b'tachtoini. Okay, yesterday we discussed the moshel of Tzipa Medaberes. And I said I'm taking it a little further than we can project the reality of it, just to really sure understand. And some people had tremendous difficulty with that. So I want to hopefully get our focus on what in fact is this phenomenon of Tzipa Medaberes, and how is Tzipa Medaberes aroused the king's heart. Sounds a little bit childish. The principle that we said right in the beginning of this king, or the Chochem Godel, we said that they are in a remote dimension, remote arena, and you can't even reach them. Where are they? Where in fact are they? Page some. I want to go, it would be beneficial into this phenomenon and delve a little bit into the Ayin, what we mention all the time, what the Rambam says, that the first principle is to know that there is a first being, Motzu Rishon, a first being. Now, what does it mean we know that there's a first being? If your knowledge of the first being is due to the fact that if there is a second being, there's a world, so you logically induce, he says, logically there has to be something that has created it. And Therefore, there is something that precedes all existence. So that's very logical and very reasonable. But if we focus in on this and say, look, the Rambam said that this knowledge becomes the yesod, the foundation of all foundation, the foundation of the human life, and the basis of all chokhmah. Now, in order that it should be foundation of life, foundation of chokhmah, it has to be something that you have a direct cognizance of. If you say that I know there is a first being, because I see there is a world, there's a first being, what reality are you adhering to, are you recognizing? Is it the first being reality or the world reality? It is the world reality. So you're back to where you started from. Start building things on the world that you're experiencing. How is that the basis for chokhmah? The chokhmah creates a completely different perspective. It has to be that this knowledge of a first being is not due to some kind of a segeldike process or question and answer. There has to be a knowledge that is both direct and absolutely clear. To the extent that this becomes a foundation of all the foundations. Everything else is built on that. And a foundation has to be very solid and very real. It can't be hypothetical, it has to be real. So for this, comes in the principle and the special faculty, the special koyach, what's called amunah. What we discussed before is chokhmah. Chokhmah is also a phenomenal realization, phenomenal relation. Like we say, sight is like a mushal of chokhmah, and sight gives us a sense of reality of what we see, but we have to open our eyes and see it. And we can close our eyes and not see it. It's not the foundation of all foundations. The reason we see things is because beyond that we have a foundation of all foundations. The reason that the things that we see are real to us is because deep down we know that there is such thing as reality, this reality. And this is a representative of that reality. This does not create a sense of reality. There has to be something that substantiates, gives it possibility. Like we said many times that chokhmah and sight, talk about sight, which is easier, although it's in a glance and it's mamash the real thing, but the glance is also time dependent. It's also time, which means it exists within a certain parameters, certain measurements. It is not an existence that exists at all times. With closed eyes I see it. I cannot but see it. That is not that we don't have in sight. And we don't have that in chokhmah either. Chokhmah comes as a result of concentration. Chokhmah comes in the form of a borog hamavrik, of a spark. Borog hamavrik, a spark, is really a fleeting a piece of light. It doesn't have a wick, it's a piece of light itself. But it also is a piece of light. It has a presence. So therefore, chokhmah itself cannot be the basis for this knowledge. It's an essential knowledge of Motzui Rishon. Motzui Rishon means that that it precedes all existence. You don't see it because things exist. You see it prior to all existence, and it has to be a clarity to the extent that that becomes the foundation of all your thinking, foundation of your reality. And what is the faculty, or what is the means? Faculty is not even a correct word. What is the means by which we become aware, or we know this, we have this knowledge, the essential knowledge? This is called Amunah. I mentioned many times the word Amunah, many aspects of Amunah, but the core in of Amunah means something that is steady, that is solid, that doesn't vary. Like it says in the pasuk by Moshe Rabbeinu when he went up on that hill, when Yeshua was having a war with Amalek, and the war was dependent on Moshe Rabbeinu's hands being stretched upwards. So it says that Aaron and Hur supported his hands, and thus his hands were emunah, which means steady, but not varying. So emunah means steady. Steady means something that you don't find out. If you ever find out it's not steady. There is, try to minimize the distance. There is a nefesh, and then there is the yin from this nefesh is mislabish in the goof, in the brain. In the brain, it's already in time and space. Brain is has a space. Brain is affected by the maslapses of the nefesh. Therefore, that which you can sense in your brain is in time and space. This is what we call the chokhmah, the purest element, but it's in time and space. It comes in the form of boreg and mavrik and so forth. But then there is the pure nefesh itself. The pure nefesh itself, just as we are saying here, the nefesh habahamis submits to the tzorich yitzis. It's not. You have to know. You have to want, even though you cannot touch it really. The similar union is in this emunah. Emunah is beyond touch, beyond the brain experience. This is nefesh itself. This is the mental reality of nefesh that we know without touching it, without being able to examine it. We know, and therefore, this knowledge of a Motzei Rishon is not of a secondary nature. We know it as a result of the world demonstration, manifestation. We know it directly. This is the reality of our knowledge. This substantiates everything else. This reality, Motzei Rishon, encompasses. Motzei Rishon means first presence. That encompasses, and that is what facilitates and allows for everything else to exist. So that, as we said before, we see an object and it's very real. The real reason why this object is very real and we don't question it and we are totally confident about its reality is not because we experience it, not because we see it, but because we have this cognizance that there is a reality beyond time and space. And this is just a limited manifestation of that reality in time and space. Because time and space, everything in time and space is vulnerable. And this is a reality that's not vulnerable. In Chassidus, there are different terms for this. This is called soiver kolam, it's called makif. A reality, soiver and makif are realities that we have no way to identify, to define, to grasp. And yet, this is what encompasses, this is what facilitates and permits everything else to exist. And there are different levels of Sefer, different levels of Makif, Makif Akore, Makif Arachi, there are all kinds of different things. Ultimately, in the awareness arena, that is what makes things real. And that we call Motzerish, that precedes all existence, all experience existence. Now, a human being, a Yid particularly, and perhaps a human being in general because of his gift of Seichel, he has a real sense, a real insight of the principle of Motzerish. A Yid, this is his business, this is his identity. By a goy, it can be argued. It's not his identity, he's not bottled to it. But nevertheless, he will submit to the arguments that lead to it. This is the reality of a Yid. The Motzerish and Mamtzikol Nimtz. And this is what we said, the Nefesh HaBahamis is bottled to that, even though it cannot fully relate to it. It cannot relate to it at all. It cannot, because Nefesh HaBahamis is experience and sensation dependent. And this cannot be in sensation of any kind. But it submits to that and it says, no, this is the reality I want to relate to. Tzorich litzis. That would be really human. That would be the really responsible thing to do. And then, okay, so now we have a motion on this. Tzipor medaberes. Tzipor medaberes. Okay. No, the tzipor medaberes does not understand what a human being is. But tzipor medaberes hears the sounds coming out of the human being, or any sound, and it mimics it. What is it mimicking? It's a phenomenal thing. It mimics it because that sound is part of its own reality. It doesn't know what it hears. But it's happening, so it mimics it. So it does not have the intelligence to delve in and say, you know, there is such a thing as reality. It doesn't have that. But it instinctively, so to speak, relates to it. It identifies it. And it identifies different sounds. It doesn't just mimic a sound, a noise. It mimics the exact sound to the point where it's medaberes. It actually produces speech. Speech is a very, very precise sound. They're individual letters, and there's a certain structure to these letters. How does it identify these? It's part of its own reality. Coming back to the principle, Lev Malachim Ein Cheker. The heart of kings Ein Cheker, you cannot fathom. What does that mean? Where is the heart of kings? And where is the mind of the scholar? Like we said, the scholar, what is saying? Going into Seichel Amukim, in depth of Seichel. Where is the depth of Seichel? Depth of Seichel is in a different arena, in an arena of reality, of truth. Not in a sensation, in something which is unidentified. This is what he's drawing. He's trying to draw everything back to its source. This is a tremendous chidush, and that chidush, that Tzipah Medaberes, is reflective of that chidush that he is working with. It recognizes something within the sphere of its reality without knowing what it is. But there is something there.
You're saying that the Tzipah Medaberes correlates to the pursuit of the Melech in truth?
It correlates to it correlates to the place where the Melech is. What is the Melech? In unidentifiable level.
This is like what we described as Alma Discassia?
Like Alma Discassia. Where is the Melech? Where is the Melech? The Melech gives presence to the entire nation. What does the nation consist of? The nation can consist of millions of people. And Ayin they say him service. Each one having a different interest and a different perception of things. How does the Melech encompass all that? He says, Isha asher ruach boi yochel halech neged ruchi shekolach v'yachud. He can really accommodate and relate to every individual, every mind, every mindset. How is that? Because every mindset has a source in this motivation.
He's drawing everything directly from the Matzah Rishon.
He's drawing it directly, that's right.
How is the Tzipah Medaberes like correlate?
So Tzipah Medaberes does not go to Matzah Rishon, but okay. The Matzah Rishon is reflected in our world, not in the worldly element, not in the identifier element, in the fundamental reality of the world, of that in the world which facilitates everything else. Like we said in the onset, we said, Emunah gives us a direct cognizance of the motivation. Our world is real to us because we have a direct cognizance of its reality. The world is a precarious place and everything can change, but we're not in constant concern that the world will dissipate into nothingness. Why not? Because the motivation wants it to be. The world is there without an explanation why it's there. There is no basis.
So then, I mean, that is ultimately what the king is being mamshach to the nation, is he's bringing the truth to the level of the people.
That's exactly right.
But then how would we, but yet the mashal describes him as being involved in seichel and mukim, in other words, aluf.
No. There are two mishalim here. The level lochim and there is a chochem gadol. The melech is not involved in seichel and mukim. The melech is superior to a chochem gadol.
Okay.
But he says, even in case of a chochem gadol, he's involved in sichlim amukim. Let me explain what is the amkus of the seichel. The amkus of the seichel is the seichel as it is, as it is drawn from that which is not seichel at all. From the truth of the nefesh itself.
Right, but
the truth of the nefesh.
The way it sounds is that he's aloof. He's not aloof in a negative sense, but he's he's law. He's superior.
What are you talking about?
Either one, the melech. Let's say the melech.
Yes, they are involved in the basis of all reality, not in the practical aspect of it.
The basis of all reality, but ultimately that gets reflected in.
Oh, so that's it. So then a Hedid comes and makes a request.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to arouse his interest.
Mm.
Interest, and then he can relate to you as well.
Mm. And the tzibur does this because when it imitates the sound, it's basically showing that this thing which is completely beyond its own reality is also part of its reality.
Yeah. It's not, yeah, it's showing it, not unintentionally showing. This is how come it reacts to it.
That's why the king reacts to it.
Huh?
That's why
And the tzipor also reacts to the sound. Why? Because somehow it is in its presence, even though he does not have any kind of understanding of what it is.
And this, so to speak, kind of arouses the king that he should pay attention to the, this that's in his presence.
This is the double chidush. So that kind of takes the king away from his remoteness, and it connects him to a different level, through a double chodesh, a leap connection.
A moment earlier we said the king is some kind of collective soul, but he encompasses all his subjects and he goes to the source. Why the distance? Why does he need some kind of novelty or mamutza to bring him back to one of his subjects? As soon as the subject walks in the room, why does he not completely sense where he is?
This which we said that he's a collective soul is only to make us realize that his level of awareness, his level of orientation, is at a level that is beyond any soul. He encompasses all of that. It's not that he is thinking a million different ways. That's what I'm saying. So
Right.
therefore yes, he has room for everybody, but he has room for everybody because he's at a level that has no limit.
he has to be drawn to it by something.
But then he has to be drawn from it.
Also we have like the master is one who can speak to the simpleton and to the greatest scholar. He's really the master. Or the Rebbe, somebody comes to see him and he can speak to any level of person who visits. Here, different, huh?
it sounds different. It's not different. I'll explain to you why. This union that the master can speak to everyone is due to his service of God, really. It's not a personal thing, because everyone is part of that godly reality that he is in service of, and is able to descend to everybody. If he were into his own thing, he would become completely oblivious to everything. But because that he is in service with God, and which encompasses everything and has a purpose in bringing it down, therefore he is able to bring it down.
So in the mashal, the king, before the tzipor comes to him, he's sort of in his own thing, and the tzipor is reminding him about the avoida aspect.
He is in his own thing, but what is his own thing? That's what is his own thing, which includes everything.
But it's not. It's everything, but it's not everything on the level of the kiddush of the
identifiable level. Like we give the simple muscle. Okay, we have to stop the timber muscle. Who is wealthier, the king or the multi-billionaire? The king has nothing in his treasury. The king is not even allowed to hoard a lot of wealth. You should not collect wealth. There's a din how much he's allowed to have, cash available. But who is in fact wealthier? The king's wealth is not measured by quantity. Not measurable. It's completely different. That's what we're talking about. All right, time is up. So we are essentially where we started this morning.
Very good place.
Okay. So tonight it's have a great day.
la